So, ironically, I have this South Park goth smug, which I kind of just think is funny that I have it because actually I kind of hate South Park. I don't know what's happened to me, but I need a sip of coffee before we do this because this is going to be interesting. God, I always make it so hot. Hey, and happy Hexmas to everybody at home. Welcome to the shit show. So I haven't made anything in a while. I guess that's because there really haven't been a lot of movies out that have piqued my interest. But lately I have seen a movie that piqued my interest, and boy, was it like a carnival ride. You look at it and you go, what's this gonna be? And then you get on it and you're like, whoa, what's happened to my brain? Okay, so the movie is called The Possession of Hannah Grace. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry. I can't believe. Well, wow. If I got that wrong, then I should probably quit the internet, because why am I making videos on movies that I don't even know the title to?
This job is not for everyone.
Because of the hours?
Because the only co-workers are cadavers. I heard there were issues.
Yes, there were issues. But I'm much better now.
Welcome to the team.
How do we even start? Okay, this movie was buck wild, and I knew nothing about it. I saw no trailers, I just heard the title, and I went, oh, another possession movie in a theater. Have you seen that movie? There's this movie back in the day that not a lot of people saw. It was called The Exorcist, and basically what happens in it is there's like a possession of like a little girl, and then she says naughty words, does a vomit, and do an attack. And it's pretty dang cool. See, I've been wondering, when are we gonna get a movie that just is that? But again, maybe it's like a contemporary thing where it's like, well, it's like, what if The Exorcist, but, the person that was being possessed had a cell phone? That would be interesting. Like, the demon is just, texting horrible, insults and, bigotry on the internet. Oh my god. I can just see it now and I hate it. Anyway, okay, that's not the movie. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, but The Possession of Hannah Grace is actually kind of interesting because when we sat down to watch it, my first initial thoughts for the first few minutes was like, hey, I've seen this movie. It's literally just that. Like, the opening shot of the movie is a cross, and there's a Jesus, and then there's a bed with a girl on it, and she's breaking her back around and contorting and all of that stuff. And there's a priest, and he's he's an exorcist, and you're like, okay, cool, but then it quickly devolves into something I have never seen before. And I wish it were more interesting, but I've got a lot of thoughts. I've got a fantasy movie in my head, guys. It's gonna be really cool when we get there. But I guess we should probably talk about the actual movie.
Something went wrong. And she died in the middle of it. You know what they say. If an exorcism isn't completed, evil will find a new vessel.
Okay, so The Possession of Hannah Grace is weird because it's not actually an exorcism movie. It's a possession movie that doesn't actually feature a prominent exorcism. The exorcism already happened, Hannah already died, it failed completely, but the demon still lives within Hannah's rotting dead body, and she's brought into a morgue, and then there's a main character who is a new morgue attendant. So there's this sort of juxtaposition between this body that is still very possessed and still can move around, which is horrific as far as imagery goes. But at the same time, it's there's this new morgue worker, and how much of this is delirium or hallucination, which is also a funny sort of tropey sort of thing we've seen in many a movie. But in this movie, it feels kind of actually super neat. because like literally the idea is that there is a dead body that is moving on its own, but it's not just a dead body. It's like a mutilated dead body. So like imagine like somebody that's like neck is like hacked in half, just like walking around. It's pretty freaky. It's pretty scary. I was very scared in the movie theater. Okay, that's not true. I wasn't actually very scared, but I was fascinated. I thought that was a really interesting concept for a movie. It's a shame, the movie, because here's my main thing with it is like, God, it would have been really cool if they would have done like a whole lot with that. I mean, the movie's got an R rating. They could pretty much get away with whatever. And most of the movie, there is a gory, horrible, mutilated corpse just sort of walking around. But I wish that they kind of exploited that slightly more. One scene in particular that is incredibly successful as far as like a horror scene goes. And it's like ladies looking at the corpse. And then the corpse breathes, like exhales. And you're like, fuck that. My exact reaction in the theater. Fuck that. That's the best part of the movie. That's the best thing that happens in the movie. And like, I turned to the person I was with and I was like, if this is what this movie's gonna be, I am so down. But unfortunately, no, that's not what the movie is. And it ends up being this whole other thing. But there for a brief minute, it had me. It really, really, really had me.
End of story.
Then you're up for it?
If there were things that I wish I had gotten out of the movie, I suppose it's like the violent scenes, like the scenes of people being attacked and tormented by the said corpse, are sort of a missed opportunity. There's like a lot of violence that's just completely missing from the movie. Like there are moments in it where Hannah will attack somebody and then it will cut to a different scene. We'll return to that same person and they'll be like dead. And it's like, what happened there? Like, I don't know, kind of wanted to see that happen. What happened to that person? Perhaps I am a glutton for horrible violence. See, I'm living to experience those feelings that people have when they have images in their head that they just can't get out. By the time I die in my life, I would like to be just a plethora of just images that I wish I could unsee. And then death will be bliss. I think that this movie is almost great. It's almost great. The things that I didn't like about the movie were like how the corpse slowly regenerates over time. I think that the corpse should degenerate. I want to see that thing by the end of the movie be hideously falling apart, but still going for it. You know what I mean? I was like rooting for this corpse. I was like, girl's hacked to pieces, but she's still crawling around. Like, that's pretty good. Like, why don't we just double down on that? And by the end of it, she's just like a leg. You know, what if she's just a rolling head? Anyway, my point is, like, if she was degenerating, I think that would actually be scarier. Because, like, slowly as it kind of unravels, she's like, you know, she's barely there together, but, like, she's still fighting, and it's even more grotesque than it is at the beginning. I think the movie kind of peaks at the fact that she's like mutilated and crawling around, and then for the remainder of the movie, she's just like a possessed dead girl that's crawling around. It's like, dead girl, we've seen that movie. We haven't seen the mutilated corpse running around the morgue attacking people. That's a movie we haven't seen.
I can handle it.
The other thing that I absolutely despised about this movie was that its screen economy is awful. And it's also, it's like, its optionistic approaches are not great. So let me talk about those two things. And I actually think this might be helpful for those of you who like make stuff to think about things in these terms. So the first thing, so the options are option A, option B, option C. In writing terms and plotting terms, literally in every single filmmaking term, you've got this. So it's like, how are you going to approach whatever this scene is on both a written level and on an actual like formalistic level. So option A is something that generally anybody in the world would think to do. Option B is something that like half of the audience or population of the world would think to do. And option C is like something that only you would do. Like there's a great example in this movie directed by Martin Scorsese called After Hours. And there's like a scene in it where the main character just goes into a bathroom and he sees a drawing on a wall. And now that drawing could be literally anything. And also the scene could be literally anything. But instead it's like, it's a crude drawing of a shark biting a man's penis. And it's hysterical. And it's also the most option C thing ever. Because like literally no one would do that. Like no one in the world would think to do that. Generally, that's kind of what I'm talking about. So like the way the movie opens, it's like super option A. We got like crucifixes. We got, you know, what if a cross, but turned upside down? That's how evil they are. They take a cross and they flip it upside down. Wow. Never seen that one before. So you know what I mean? It's just like a lot of option A and option B choices where I was like waiting for an option C choice to show up and me be like, damn. You know what I mean? I did get the one, which is when the corpse exhales. Like that was pretty option C. I was like, I've never seen that before. That's really cool. Also the title sequence, which is like this dimly lit, you know, corpse photos with text kind of juxtaposed. That was really cool. That felt really option C to me because I feel like I've legitimately never seen that, and it kind of got me into the movie. There's this sort of like immediate shift from like option A choices of like we're doing this exorcism scene to completely option B, I would call it, where we're like in a morgue like that quick. And of course, then we get back into the morgue stuff and it's just like super stock. This is like morgue dialogue. What happened in your life that led you to come work at the morgue, my dude?
Die, you die. And when you die, you die.
You've got to focus.
Just breathe.
Which actually brings me to my my second point, which is that the movie's screen economy is terrible. Terrible screen economy. So let me put it like this. Film is a visual medium, which you already know. However, very, very often it is good to just directly state like the rules of the movie, the rules of the environment that the movie's going to take place in, because then it's like, okay, we're all on the same page and now we can just get on this roller coaster together. But the problem is when the movie like spends so much of its runtime explaining shit to us, like trying to get us on its level, even though it's like concepts and its ideas and its presentation like super are not that complicated. So like there's one instance where there's these overhead lights. They turn off after a couple minutes and you have to go up and wave your arms and then the lights turn back on. We know about things like that in the world. We've all dealt with lights that shut off and then we have to, you know, motion sensors, right? That's like not that complicated of a thing. However, why don't we just go ahead and have a couple minutes where some dude just kind of comes in and explains how motion sensors work to us? And then immediately thereafter, there's a scene in the dark with the new morgue attendant. The lights go off. She walks out and waves her arms and it's like, we got it. We didn't need to have that explained to us even a little bit. There's even a joke in the movie that's kind of interesting where, okay, people hate this term, but we're mansplaining. There's this moment where this guy like mansplains a button to our main character. It's like, if it's green, that means it's good. And if it's red, that means it's not good. And it's like, okay, we're supposed to connect with our morgue worker here, right? Because we're both going, okay, green means go, red means stop. We get that, right? We all get it, but he explains it like 4 times and it's like a joke. And then later on in the movie, she goes, yeah, green means go, red means stop. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the narrative of the movie. It is literally just the movie telling us that, like, it dislikes mansplaining. But literally the majority of the runtime is the movie like sitting down and carefully explaining itself to us as if we're stupid. So it's like, it's literally doing the thing that it's complaining about. It's amazing. Like, why?
End of story.
Hello?
So, like, I don't know. I feel like this movie is kind of awesome, but also kind of the worst. Like, and that's the big problem is, like, not because it's middling, it's not middling. And that's kind of one of the things about it that I really loved. It was, like, super not middling. Like, watching it was pretty visceral. The stuff that was really cool about it wasn't just really cool, it was exceptionally cool. It was so cool. The stuff that sucked and was like dragging the entire thing down was dragging it down so much that I would almost say that it completely ruined everything that was good about it. And like, what a weird, I'm trying to be nuanced, but I honestly have no idea whether I liked or disliked this movie because so much of it I liked and so much of it was just terrible. I don't understand how this could have like possibly happened. I'm actually kind of disappointed just because of how much of it I really, truly, really liked. Yeah. The Possession of Hannah Grace. See it, maybe. Also, I saw this at like 11:15 p.m., which was just sort of a out of nowhere decision. And let me tell you what, watching a movie where half of it is just some dudes explaining stuff to you at 11:15, you kind of get a little sleepy. I got a little sleepy. I didn't fall asleep, but I got a little sleepy. Anyway, I love you. Goodbye.